Hey guys, hope you guys had a good day today. So we got some unexpected news up from the Bank of Japan that basically tonight they are going to do a rate increase. So I'm not super basically familiar with how all that affects us, but in the little bit that I do know is that basically when they are going to basically have less available, and that becomes a problem for us. I know back last year that a lot of the run up, a lot of that was actually fueled by the Bank of Japan because they are continuing to buy our stuff. So now this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. This was, if you can see this candle on the daily SPY here, SPY had almost a full $8 range, and the Qs had about a $10 range. This is one of the biggest intraday ranges that we probably had all year. Which is even more interesting is the fact that a reaction to the Bank of Japan's hike was taking more negatively than an actual rate hike on our own Fed and from our own Fed speaker. So I thought that was interesting. So let's kind of look at where we're at here. We're at a pretty much a do or die moment here for the markets. I was bullish, but now I got to be cautious here. So we have our demand right here at 452.2. Yesterday we broke out. We did not make a new supply, but with this huge rejection today, we did put a new supply in at 455.5. So this level here at 456.8, that was pretty much my line in the sand. You can see we had 1, 2, 3 rejections at it. We gapped way over it this morning. We opened at 459 this morning, but we lost all that today. So this 455.5 to 456.8 becomes now a major resistance. Now, the question is, what happens next? Well, we are sitting under the daily AEMA. We did close below the daily AEMA, but we did not quite close below our 452.1 demand. So the way I see it is pretty simple. And I'm going to zoom out here so you can kind of see a little better the long-term channel. So we have this black bull channel that we've been trading in since May 2nd. We also have the blue channel that goes back to March 7th. Now, the black channel inside the blue channel pretty much makes a really large rising wedge. We are tomorrow most likely going to test that rising wedge support. The way I see it, if we break through 450.7, we break this black bull channel, and that could really start a pretty big downside movement. You can also see the daily AEMA or 20 EMA support is down here riding this line up. That's going to be probably right here about 450.4. If we close below the daily AEMA and the daily 20 EMA tomorrow, there's a really high chance going into next week that we're going to have a really bloody week. What's interesting to me, so tonight at 11 o'clock is when this, 11 o'clock Eastern time is when we're going to get this. So what I found most interesting, and I'll talk about it more when I get to the VIX, is that markets never recovered on this drop. Even end of day, I mean, yeah, the last 10 minutes, we had a little blip up. But for the most part, today, the markets, they did not recover at all. So that's a big deal. The biggest thing that I noticed that was different about this time, this day of selling off, was every single other sell off all year long, markets recovered by end of day. Every single, even if you go back to the March drops right here, most of these we recovered. You can see here we recovered, and some of these we even recovered intraday. I mean, this whole way up here, you can see, look at these weird candles and stuff. It was, so it's interesting to me, or this was May, or this was March, yeah. So it's interesting to me that pretty much since March, we haven't had this level of selling, and most importantly, this level of continuation of selling. And I said this earlier this week, and I said it last week when I was saying I was bullish. Markets need two parts. They need a reason to sell, which today was the announcement of the BOJ, and they need a reason to continue to sell. Now, what will we have that reason to continue to sell or not is the question. Is this a big enough deal to warrant the reaction like we got to the bank runs? Or is this going to be a buy the news, sell the rumor sort of thing? We're really sell the news, buy the rumor. Or sell the rumor, buy the news, I mean, because we're buying the dip. So it'll be interesting how this shakes out. If we continue to break down tomorrow, I have 443 and 447 as targets. From a weekly standpoint, we look pretty bearish, and the fact that we are still rejecting 453.2 resistance, and this is that resistance that goes all the way back to the January and February high, is a pretty big deal. So from a resistance standpoint, the bulls, they need to minimally close over 453.5 tomorrow. Now going over to the futures, you can already kind of see it happening. I'm going to get rid of this text so you can see it a little better. When I did my TA last night, we had not put a daily supply in. However, when the new daily candle opened, things did change just a little bit. And we did actually have a new daily supply yesterday put in at 46.05. We also had that double top I talked about, but we were looking, and for the most part, we were going to have a nice double bottom and push up. However, as you can see, this 46.21 area hard rejected us. So what we're seeing here now, and I'm going to go back to SPY just for a quick second. I forgot to talk about it. We have been in, if you look back to since July 18th when we closed up here, we have now, if you include today's top, traded in a $7 range for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days we've closed in or been inside this $7 range. However, if you look at the closes, we've closed inside a $3.43 range for 7 days now. Now, it looked like we were going to get the breakout of this range and continuation up into the 460s, but at this moment, it actually looks like we might see a breakdown here. Now, going over the futures, same thing here. We have closed inside about a 43-point range now for going on today would be our 8th day if we close inside of it. So what happened is we had our double top at 46.05. This is clearly our resistance. Even this day right here, 46.09, we rejected it and didn't close over it. 46.05 is a big, big level right now. However, we are sitting directly on 45.63 demand. So if we break through this demand, then I have a bigger target down here at 44.93 that I'm going to be looking for. So same thing, this bull channel, and now we had broken the black bull channel that is represented right here, the more steep one. We broke that last week on futures actually. So we do have a little bit of a different setup, and I need to copy this one over so you can kind of see. This is our blue channel top. It goes off that one there. So this one goes all the way back to February actually for the blue, but the black one you can see we kind of have a double channel just the way it's set up. But that support, and this goes all the way back here to, you could call it May, is going to sit right at 45.50 for tomorrow. So if futures drops about 16 points and breaks through 45.50, then I do think we're going to have more of a sustained sell-off. Going over to the Qs, so we have one of my favorite patterns here, the diamond pattern. Basically, the way the diamond pattern works is the one way or another we're going to break out. So we have our slight bear channel here, and we have our bull channel here. We are either going to break out to the upside, which looks like we failed, or we're going to massively break down to the downside. Now this black bull channel here on the Qs, this one goes back. So it's kind of tough here because if you really want to go in the full extent of the bull channel, then really we've been in it since February. This is where things are a little tougher because we have some rogue candles that kind of make it a little difficult to have a really nice clean bull channel. But that's support, and you can see we have bounced off this support 1, 2, 3 different times. So if we break through that support, which sits for tomorrow at 374.7, then realistically we're going to see a pretty sizable sell-off. My big downside targets on the Qs, if we continue to drop, is 370.4 and 371.5. We have a pretty big support area down here in 365.8 also. Now going over to the VIX, this is what's interesting to me. So I need to update this for you. So we did put a demand in today, and that's going to be right here at 13.17 off of yesterday's. So we go ahead and take out both of these demands. So what's interesting and intriguing to me is yesterday we put a supply in at 14.01, reconfirmed the 14 level as resistance. What we did today is we bounced down. We bounced off of the 12.86, 12.89 demand. I hate how TradingView slightly moves your lines sometimes, so I have to adjust them sometimes. But 12.89 demand, we closed over our range on the VIX. Now, if you look at the VIX here, since July 12th, we have closed inside of this tight range right here. $1.15 range of closures. Now, realistically, most of our price action has happened inside there. Now, realistically, this has been our range of closing, has been 86 cents since July 12th. So what we're seeing here is the VIX actually broke out of its consolidation and its potential bear channel that we had right here. So one would assume with the VIX breaking out of its consolidation that we're going to see SPY and the Qs break down out of its consolidation. Now, one really important thing that I want to watch tomorrow is how the VIX closes. So you can see we do have a little bit of a wick to the upside, but we also have a wick to the downside too. Now, I want to go back to March when we had our bank run. What is important to note here is the candle structure. So this is when we had our first reactions to it. And you can see by end of day, all of our candle bodies were super small and we had massive wicks to the upside. And then the VIX dropped and market recovered. So what we're looking for, if this is going to become a sustainable downside movement, is we're going to want to see back-to-back candles like this on the VIX. You're going to want to see the VIX have small wicks to the upside. You want to see that body really far to the upside. I'm trying to see, let's see if we have a good area where you can kind of watch that. It's been a while. The VIX has just been so choppy. Kind of like more like here. I mean, this is all the way back in January 2022, but you can see how the VIX just kind of slowly moved up and then it had its massive wick. And that was pretty much how we knew that we were at a short top there. But the point is we're looking for kind of like our downside here is you're looking for just slow continuation. So tomorrow, most likely the VIX, if we have a negative reaction at 11 o'clock tonight, is probably going to test this 15.44 level. And then we have a one at 17.1 to watch, and then all the way up here at 19.5. If the VIX shoots up tomorrow, and more importantly, holds higher, likely into next week, we are going to see a continued sell-off. Now, if the VIX recovers, or we have a massive, say, 10% spike, up in this area, so a 10% spike would take us, let's see, about to 16, but then end of day, we have a huge wick down and we close back in the 14s again. That would signal to me that this was just an overreaction and that we're actually going to probably buy the dip next week. So I will be watching the VIX closely. Today, it was on point. It was never wrong. So I'm definitely watching that to kind of see where we go next. Tonight, overnight, on futures, it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm very excited to see what happens at 11 o'clock. We're either going to get like a huge drop on futures at that time, or we're going to get a huge rip up. Just kind of depends on how the market reacts. It's going to be very, very interesting.